Welcome to Business Impacting the Space Coast, the podcast keeping you in the know on small business in Brevard County. Business Impacting the Space Coast is sponsored by Ideal Impact Media, your partner in video marketing and brand storytelling.
I'm here with my good friend, Tom Taranto. Tom, what have you been up to these days?
All right. So I wanted to talk today about a project that I'm working on. It's called a land vending machine.
What?
Yeah. So essentially think of, that you could potentially on an app using crypto and the blockchain actually purchase a piece of real estate, vacant land, in 30 seconds, 1 second, whatever it takes. You click on it and you now actually own that piece of real estate.
Okay.
I know it might sound a little crazy. And so this is a project that I'm working on, and I've got the first phases of it already in full works. I can share a little bit more about what I'm doing if you like.
Why use a vending machine as opposed to a realtor?
Okay, good question. So let's just go over to some of the other cases where people have experienced like extreme increases in speed and how people have reacted to that, right? So like good analogy is, in the old days, when my kids were little, we used to go down to the corner of 192 and actually get videos, get VHS cassettes or DVDs, and you had to watch them. You got a couple of them, and then you had to return it the next day or the next day. And then Netflix would mail you DVDs and you would mail them back. And we accepted that as being okay until the day we all experienced that you could go on and just push click and you could watch any movies you want. And eventually just keep clicking, you can watch unlimited videos. Just imagine today telling somebody, oh, no, this isn't working out. We got to go back. You need to actually go and get the movie for tonight from the corner store. It's like people would laugh at you. Mm-hmm. And what that means is when people experience speed and convenience, they will never go back. Mm. Now transition that to a real estate transaction takes 30 days. And I've been discussing this ever since I've kind of gotten into, and this isn't just my involvement in crypto. As you know, I do a lot of crypto activities, is just this idea that, I believe that when you see friction, like massive friction in any industry, we're going after it, like technology and companies, and because people want convenience and speed. It's human nature, and it's not going away. So recognizing that we see this crazy fluff of time and I've brought this up. I brought it up to mortgage brokers. I've brought it up to title companies. I've brought it up to investors, professionals, all this. Like, dude, why can't I go and say, let's say I'm in town, I'm from another area, I want that house, and that house. Here's the money. Let me push a button. Give me the keys. Mm-hmm. And no, it's impossible. You have to do title. Like, so you're telling me we don't know who owns these houses? Mm-hmm. Are you seriously telling me we don't know who owns? Oh, you need to do inspection. I don't want an inspection. I want to buy the house right now, instantly. Mm-hmm. And all I hear is all the impossibilities. Like, oh, that can't be done. We need to do this. Real estate is special. Like, okay, so I could send you right now $1 million worth of Bitcoin. And from my wallet to your wallet, nobody's saying, well, we don't know who owns that Bitcoin. It's so confusing. We don't know. Like, no, there's certain things in the world that are documented and we know who owns them. And we actually allow the consumer, private citizens, to have control over them and share, which is, again, that's the whole realm of crypto, right? But when you get down to real estate, I understand, and believe me, I understand the laws and the regulatory issues, and we need to watch out for money laundering. We need to watch out for terrorists and all of this stuff. I get it. But that's not the real reason why there's this fight for slow. Some of it's the same reason why today I could send assets through the blockchain 24/7, 365 days a year. And yet for real estate and for most things we do, I have to send a wire, goes through the Fed. More recently, I sent wires I sent it to Coinbase to purchase crypto, and it gets flagged by my bank 3 times in a row by the fraud department. And it's like, other times it gets flagged at the Fed. Oh, it's just a random check. If you do it on a Friday too late, that money won't show up until Monday. It's like this archaic system that we're using is so old. And you go back to, well, why is it? Why can't we have speed? And the reality is, this is the basic, we will have speed. And it's just a question of how it's going to play out. And I believe that, in the next few years, even the consumers themselves, when they get connected to whether it be a central bank digital currency, whether or not certain like major institutions that we all know and love, like the DMV, at some point, I believe the DMVs of all the different states, starting with maybe California, then maybe Florida, like someone's going to have a fully blockchain-based system for documenting vehicles, which means that I could meet you to purchase your used vehicle. I could actually have an app to exchange the value, the monies, and the title would all be click. Hey, I do want it. I've test driven it. I'm going to push click. Just take that and compare it to, hey, I've got a stack of cash. Let's go meet at the DMV and change title and then scribble a signature and hand it. Like, we're still doing this in 2025, right? So take that whole conversation and move it over to the conversation of store of value, like the biggest store of value. Somebody who's into crypto would argue that Bitcoin is the store of value. Like this is the new money. This is the store of value. And it just happens to be, appreciating, 4 million%. So it's true that that's something that's happening. But what's the original store of value for people in the last thousands of years? It's actually land. Land is the store of value, and land is another word for real estate, right? Houses and buildings are built on land. That's what we call real estate. But just taking land as the concept, my project that I'm working on, the land vending machine, is basically just a precursor to eventually what I would call the 30-second closing, which would be that just like I think it'll be a lot quicker where the whole thing with the DMV, where all the vehicles will be registered clearly, who owns them through a blockchain. Then you can create an app, have the actual monies change hands and all of that. At some point, something very similar will happen, I believe, with real estate, meaning that you could actually say, here, you see these 10 parcels of land. Would you like them? Yes. You're a grown person. You've done your due diligence. You know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. Click the button. You own them like that quickly. And so a little bit in the experimental mode, I actually have a project that's kind of the early start of the land vending machine. And I did want to note that I'm doing this 100% as a private individual. And the reason I have to say that is that I do have involvement in a crypto project, in charge of a crypto project. It's not in that role or that capacity that I'm doing this, and I'm saying this specifically so it's on record for legal reasons. Like, this is not me as the CEO of that project. This is not me as a real estate agent or a broker associate. I'm not brokering this. This is me as a private investor trading one asset for another. And in this particular case, what I'm doing is I'm trading 1 acre of vacant land in Brevard County, Florida. I'm trading that for 4 million SWP tokens, which is a meme token. So it's a highly experimental thing because of the volatility of the meme token. That's the big volatile element of it. I could just as well say, I want Pokemon cards. I could say I want gold coins for that vacant lot. Give me 2 ounces of gold and I'll give you the vacant lot. I could just as well do that. It just wouldn't be that exciting because honestly, so many of those things have been done before. Like many people have bought, actually at this point, many people have bought and sold real estate for crypto.
Yeah.
It's not news. It's not breaking news. What I'm doing, there's pieces in this project right here that are actually, as far as I can tell, nobody's ever done before. This is new. And so what I'm doing is personally taking a piece of vacant land, one acre. It's basically north of 528 near the Port St. John's exit, that one that kind of goes to nowhere. That there's an area of vacant land there. The lots in that area typically sell between $6,000 and $10,000. So I have one, I'm offering it. The experimental part is you may say, I'd like an acre of land up there. That's cool. You can go camping, maybe go four-wheeling or go hunting or whatever recreational use, long-term investment. Every buyer, do your own due diligence. You got to know what you're buying. It's your responsibility. But if you chose to do that, the only means of payment I will accept for this one is no fiat currency, only this particular token, which means if you don't already own those tokens, you have to go buy them on the chart. Now, if you're familiar with how a crypto chart works, it's similar to a stock chart, but buying a low market cap token, buying what would be equivalent to 4 million tokens could definitely impact the price. The interesting thing about this particular token too is that the token itself has a tax. Not all tokens today have a tax. Back in 2021, a lot of meme tokens had a tax and a burn and reflections and things. So with this tax, 2% goes to the tax wallet. And what has been happening is we're actually burning that tax. So what we've created here is a deflationary currency, which means the more that it's used, 2% literally is incinerated. It's sent to a dead wallet, never to come back into circulation again. This is also a little bit experimental that, okay, so you're going to be buying this token, trading it. Now you own a very, very stable asset. An acre of vacant land in that area has been at about the same price since it was subdivided in the 70s. So we're talking a pretty stable asset in terms of how much is that worth for a very, very volatile asset. Crypto in general is extremely volatile. Now, while that presents some pretty massive dangers, it also is where the opportunity lies. So a chart that's like this, that's nice. And you might be safe and you might make some money. A chart that's like this, you can lose big and you can win big. It depends on where you're getting in and out, right? Mm-hmm. So the interesting thing about this project is that if somebody buys that acre, that person is most likely pretty safe, right? The person who's trading the real estate for the token has to trust the value of the token. Hopefully it will go up or at least stay the same. But the person buying it in the purchase itself could be driving the value of the token up, right? And the offering is also a contract for deed. It's a private individual, which is similar to a rent to own. It's not truly seller financing because if somebody did want to make payments with tokens, they would not get the deed until they made the final payment of the 4 million tokens. The idea behind that is you might say, I don't have $6,000 to go and buy a piece of land right now, but I want that. And so it would be a private contract that, hey, I'll take this, and you would send, let's say 400,000 tokens to a specific wallet. When you've made the 10th payment, now 4 million tokens, you would then get the deed recorded in your name. And everything, just for clarity, everything would be legal. Doc stamps would be paid. It would all be done properly in Brevard County legally. There wouldn't be anything, no tax evasion, no circumventing of anything. And you would have a clear title. It wouldn't be with, improper ownership. You would have clear title. So the interesting thing about that is, as we were, let's say that first transaction, hey, you're happy you own this piece of land. I'm happy. I did this instead of just going and buying those tokens on the chart anyway, right? Just imagine doing it again and doing it again and doing it again. This is where the concept of the land vending machine comes in. It's something that would literally have to be built, and it's something that could be built relatively easy in the first iteration of it, in the sense of we could hypothetically make it so that what you're doing in the vending machine to start with is that each of those parcels were purchased with title insurance and they were put in separate LLCs. And then you register that there's an NFT that represents 100% ownership of that LLC. So for you to go and just simply purchase that NFT with a wallet would be one way of having a land vending machine. So you could go in the middle of the night, click on a button, buy the NFT. Now you own a piece. You own an LLC that owns a deed, legally registered with title insurance. So that would be an example of where you could have that 30-second closing. You now own the property. To make it more complete, what will be required is that a county, maybe Brevard County, maybe somewhere else, eventually uses the blockchain to actually record the deeds instead of, or in addition to the way that they record deeds today, right? So this is something that I would say could be, 10 years from now before it's implemented, might be 30 years before it's something that's common across the entire United States. In the meantime, there will be most likely little pockets of arrangements that are made. Let's say, for example, a builder. The builder might have a subdivision where they actually are selling for, as an option, selling for crypto, and also that the clear title with title insurance, and they're also giving the owner an NFT, which represents ownership of their property. So there could be ways where it could start very small, but it's just starting this chain reaction of eventually there will be some form of blockchain connection to ownership of real estate. So let me know what your thoughts are. Do you have any questions, or what are you thinking?
I have a million questions.
Okay.
But first and foremost, it's not a physical vending machine, is it? Or it's an app?
No, it would be an app. Yes.
Okay.
A website or app. Yeah.
Yeah. And so just being a member, being able to do the transaction using, the transfer of cryptocurrency, and then obviously receiving whatever that may be, either if it's on the blockchain or if it's that NFT you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so how do you find the buyers? Like, what is going to be the process whereby you're actually making this exchange?
Yeah, good question. So it's through advertising, which means in the crypto world, there's just tons of making of content, talking about different things. To connect it back to the meme token portion of it, right? This is kind of a way informally to connect one of probably the most volatile things in the world, which is a meme token, which can go, to $100 million market cap to zero overnight. It's just crazy how quickly those things. And a lot of times it just has to do with people coming and going. And these people are the most fickle traders you can imagine in the world. They're just looking for hype. They're looking for something exciting. But what happens is, what they say is, where eyeballs go, money flows where eyeballs go. That's what happens. If you get eyeballs on something and there's something that tickles people's interest, that's where the eyeballs go. The idea with how the project with land could affect this token, and just to note, this could be done with any meme token. It doesn't have to be the one that I am a part of or the one that I own a lot of. This is just part of the experiment. You might have your own meme token, or you might launch one next week and say, you know what? We want some volume. Let me sell some real estate and make it a buy. Eventually, with enough stability and enough growth, you could hypothetically sell houses this way. Mm-hmm. A little bit different laws, a different legal system, and a lot higher volume, which could make it a lot more dangerous for one of the parties. Most likely the one that ends up with tokens is just this massive pumps. But it could ease its way up from a $6,000 to $10,000 lot to a $70,000 buildable lot, or a $40,000 buildable lot in Palm Bay could be traded this way. Now you're starting to talk about some pretty good volume, but there's no marriage between my SWP and the concept. It could be done with any. So other CEOs of other cryptos may see this video and say, I want to call Tom and talk about this because I don't know anything about real estate, but I could use this as a way to create massive volume. And at the end of the day, a person buying the land, knowing what they're paying, they're going to be paying whatever they're paying. Nobody's getting ripped off. Mm-hmm. Like, there is no scam. There's no fraud. There's no, again, you're talking about private investors who knowingly say, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to only accept this for it. Why am I doing that? Is it to drive this volume? Possibly. Or maybe that's just, hey, I want tulip bulbs. I want gold coins. That's what I want. I have the right to say that I only want that in exchange for this. It's just a trade. So I think that somebody sees this video if they're interested, and there's many different roles. You may want to sell a vacant lot. You might own a piece of land. Hey, let me use that piece of land. You may want to sell it with a little discount, get it off the books, and then somebody uses it for crypto. You may want the tokens. Say, put me in that. I could see the tokens becoming more valuable. Let me trade this asset for this asset. And again, that's you as a private individual putting it out there that you want to make that swap.
And just briefly, just kind of a little bit of the history on actually using cryptocurrency for purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
The very first transaction, right, was buying a pizza with Bitcoin for like, was it 20,000 Bitcoin?
Yeah. So if you go back to that time, that we refer to somebody bought 2 Papa John's pizza for Bitcoin, which in today's value would be over $1 billion for 2 Papa John's pizzas. And this isn't that long ago, right? So the whole concept is like, it should get your attention, right? How would you pay $1 billion for 2 Papa John's pizzas? But what basically happened was there were no apps at that time. There was no like, hey, pay for this with crypto. That wasn't how it happened. It was basically on the user groups of that, somebody said, hey, if you order me a Papa John's and I'll send you, here you go. He sent it to the wallet. You ordered me a Papa John's on your credit card. It got delivered to his house and he ate the pizzas, right? So it was kind of an ad hoc, a little bit like what I'm talking about here in the first rendition. Essentially, if somebody sends me, 10 payments of 400,000 tokens to my wallet, when you make the final payment, you will get the deed. It's a little primitive. It's not through an app at this time, but over time, just like with Bitcoin, right? It can be developed into something that's just all built out behind the scenes on the software side.
And actually having a transfer of value, not just a storage of value, so you can have transactions.
Yeah.
And it's still historically, there's not a lot of things that are purchased using cryptocurrency or used outside of the normal way we would use currencies for individual countries. Even gold is probably used more to buy things than cryptocurrencies. Where does that sit in the world right now, just from a general sense?
So interesting that we are actually in the next bull run right now. It's pretty clear. The previous one peaked out about November of 2021. Bitcoin blew past $120,000. It hit $69,000 in the last bull run. So we're basically almost double what it was in the last bull run. So it's here, right? It's happening. What that hit with the total crypto market cap is $4 trillion. So we're beyond what we were by any stretch 4 years ago. $4 trillion. The total securities and stocks and assets in the world are probably $450 trillion. So we're just under 1% of all value is stored in the crypto world at this time. So we'll probably come right up on 1%. While that's a lot of money, 1% is still a small in proportion. What I think one of the biggest transfers of wealth we're going to see is when more of that $450 trillion moves into that $4 trillion block, that total storage. That's where we're going to see a certain group of people who are involved become massively wealthy, far wealthier than any of their friends, anybody else, because they're involved in that. Eventually, it will level off. The price of Bitcoin will level off at whatever it is. Over time, this crazy volatility, it's not going to be there. And then the same thing with buying and selling real estate. I think it's going to be more regulated. It's not going to be my land vending machine. It's not going to be the end all be all, right? It's all going to be through a system that's more regulated and controlled. And crypto is going to be probably connected to a digital bank, a digital currency, central bank digital currency. And it's all going to be just a new way of doing things. In the meantime, looking for opportunities to be one of the first, there's been a lot of transactions where it's just been crypto was used as payment for real estate, but basically it's stable coins. So there's no volatility. It's like almost an exact number. It's just a system using And some of those stable coins are dollars. They're US dollar token or US dollar coin. So it's not even really volatile. The little difference between what I'm talking about is I'm talking about something that's like, throwing, gasoline on a fire. This is something that's extremely volatile, and we know it up front. This is not a fixed value. Whatever this token is bought for, we're talking about a tiny market cap, which is a little bit like if you took a paper cup and you dumped a bucket into it, it'll pop up and hit the ceiling. If you took a 5-gallon bucket and you took a 55-gallon drum and you dumped it into it, it would pop up and hit the ceiling. So what you're seeing is that a small market cap asset has the ability to be so explosive that you could get 100x. 100x is an insane return, and it's not very far-fetched with that type of thing. So essentially, we're talking about having some movement on a very, very small chart. Those who kind of get what I'm saying and see, like, if this even happens, you're going to see movement. Understand, you might as well, it could be a good idea to get the tokens while it's cheap, because there's going to be some massive funds. And then I'll give you an example on the deflation. No currency in the world for any country has ever been deflationary. Every currency in the world in all of human history has always been inflationary. They've always been able to print more of it. Bitcoin was the first that was static. It's like, this is the total number. It will never grow, which is part of the concept of, they're so used to inflationary currencies. We've never experienced a deflationary currency, where imagine if the dollars were disappearing every time we used them, and you end up fractionalizing the dollar. So instead of a dollar today is worth a penny from 100 years ago. Go back 100 years and have a penny. That's what a dollar's worth today. Imagine the opposite, that literally it's becoming more and more valuable because the supply is shrinking. So part of the experiment is buying real estate for what's normally a really tiny little thing, but also making it deflationary. We've already burnt 5% of the supply. So from 100 million tokens, there's only 95 million in circulation. And that's with very little volume. We just don't know, depending on how long everything just continues and we keep doing the things, what kind of excitement we'll see as you see the supply really diminishing with large buys. That's part of the experiment as well, to see we're not just, because otherwise a fixed number of tokens to really go up requires a lot of new money to come into a project. That's why these large cap meme tokens like Shiba Inu and Doge and Pepe and others, that you see this big market caps, you have to figure, if it's already $29 billion, am I supposed to believe that another $29 billion is going to get pumped into this thing? And so I'll get a nice pump? Is that likely? And that's where it's like, but if you have a diminishing supply, you could even stay the same on the level of interest and have your asset go up in value. If you have a diminishing supply and increased interest, that's why I say now you're throwing gasoline on the fire, right? You're like, who knows? You just don't know, but it's more explosive. That's my thought on it.
Well, Tom, if somebody's specifically interested in learning more about the land vending machine, where can they go?
So I would say DM me or call me directly, right? And if you give me a DM at Tom Taranto, I'll explain, what you're looking to do. I'll explain how things work behind the scenes, and see if you're interested. There are opportunities. You may want to buy a piece of land. Just how would you do it using the crypto? You may want to know, how do I buy the token? It sounds like that might go up. You might want to be a venture capitalist on the building of the technology side to build out a platform for an actual land vending machine, and you want to be involved in that. You can talk with me about what the steps would be to build this out with a little more technology behind the scenes. There's a lot of opportunities, and it's not just one person that really I would be looking for. there's a number of different people. So if you would say, just have a good conversation with me about what are you interested in? What do you feel comfortable with? And I can explain, how it works and see if you want to do something with it.
Well, it's really interesting, the path you're headed down. I can't wait to see how it continues to develop.
Yeah.
Tom, is there anything else they can find you at or find information on this?
Yeah, so we will be putting information on it on swp.meme.
Okay.
That's the website for the meme token, but you'll have my contact information. Otherwise, you can always find my handle is at Tom Taranto. That's you find me pretty much anywhere. If you Google me, at Tom Taranto is where you'll find me.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Business impacting the Space Coast, where Brevard gets down to business. Sponsored by Ideal Impact Media, your partner in video marketing and brand storytelling.